Hey there, and welcome back to Rimworld. My name is Pete, and today we complete another episode of Rimworld Odyssey with the spacefaring Stars of Som. Last time we left off after an episode that saw us joined by not one, not two, but three new colonists. First of all, we have Nick here, a nudist space marine who is also a greedy pessimist. Then, lured in by a dance party, the 62-year-old herbalist Zero asked to join us. And just a few moments later, the blind healer Unwise Elder offered her services. And she also made it sound like refusing them would not be such a good idea. Now, at the moment, our small gravship crew is under the effects of a nearby toxic spewer. Toxic buildup is becoming an issue both in our colonists and our animals, and so I think it's time that we travel to a healthier destination. Now, how healthy exactly, that remains to be seen as we now accept this quest right here. We received it last episode and most of you were optimistic that we would be able to handle 22 waster pirates, so in exchange for a crafting skill trainer we will now try to do exactly that. Before we lift off, our crew gets combat ready. Everyone who will participate in the fight equips a suit of armor and we also turn our turrets on. And I also think it's time for Alex to equip the Persona Zeus hammer that we've had in our storage room since the very beginning of the series. And since that very beginning, Alex has also been the one to lead our troops. And considering the fact that she's got the Bloodlust trait, the weapon's Kill Happy trait would fit nicely, I think. At this point then, it's time for liftoff. Our destination is clear. Our next stop, a camp full of angry waster pirates. Now, as you can see, we arrive pretty much right on the pirate's doorstep. Nelgraf's piloting skills, or lack thereof, have also left our crew a bit nauseous. Hopefully though, that won't hurt us in the upcoming fight, as our enemies here seem to be decently well armed. Our gun turrets also open fire pretty much immediately to draw the wasters' attention. As you can see, we don't really have a lot of cover for our fighters and animals here. For this fight, we are mainly relying on superior firepower. Now, our enemies are of course not stupid. Anyone not pinned down is currently trying to loop around to attack us from the side, so we are now going to activate our shield generator, just as we learn about the sad death of Gone Dragon, unfortunately caught in the frenzy, the second duck we've lost in this playthrough. Now, under the shield's protection, which as you can see quickly collapses though, our troops head over to the left flank. Here we can now intercept a smaller group of attackers. Our combat animals, specifically our Thrumbos and the Hive Queen, are also already well in the thick of it. And sadly, the same seems to be true for our Hen Happy Squid, who is unfortunately not quite as durable. Still, on the bright side, just in that moment we achieve victory. Our turrets did take some damage though, and one of them is blowing up now. The fact that it takes 3 others with it is an unfortunate design flaw, one that we should correct in the Heese's next iteration. In terms of injuries then, Boomalope Apocalypse got hurt badly. After stabilizing the animal, Furion then takes care of our colonists. The injury situation here much more manageable, none of them suffered anything that won't heal in time. With the animals let out of the gravship, we can then also begin repairs and replacements. That turret explosion earlier did cause a bit of damage. Luckily though, we are swimming in steel and won't have any issues replacing anything that was lost. At this point then, we also receive a quest that, depending on our environmental stance, should be easily fulfilled. We can of course comfortably take in 643 toxic waste packs. After all, we can just lift off ourselves immediately upon their arrival. The fact that we could get ourselves a Psylink Neuroformer as a reward makes this very intriguing. I hadn't really planned on using Psycasts much in this series, but this opportunity here may just be too good to pass up. The crafting skill trainer that we just obtained as a quest reward, that one will now be used by Zero. I fear that with just plants and medical as her main skills, she won't have enough to do, but with a skill of now 10, she should be capable of helping out with some crafting work. For example, manufacturing components is something we should soon start doing. Inside the enemy outpost then we only find a few electrical gadgets that we can disassemble. Most of the enemy loot meanwhile consists of food and weapons, nothing we have a terrible need for just at the moment. In the evening then you can see it, the air is darkening, and that's not just because the sun is setting, a grey pall is settling in, so once again we have a reason not to stick around here for too much longer. We are then also informed of the secret that Unwise Elder has kept from us up until now. Our unnatural healer is plagued by organ decay, one lung, one kidney and the heart as well, although that one we can swiftly fix. A bionic heart has been part of our medical storage for a few episodes now. Installing it now gets rid of the most life-threatening of the three conditions. Despite the darkness, Saber also ventures out to mine. There is a small plasteel vein on this map. Obviously, we want to exhaust it before we lift back off. We also want to quickly deconstruct the sandbags surrounding the Waster outpost. Each one yields valuable cloth used in the manufacturing of flak vests. Our own hydroponics cotton production, meanwhile, is only coming along slowly, mostly because our animals keep eating the plants during our gravship launches. Now at this point, Brian has dug 2 graves to bury our dead animals. Just in that moment, a local squirrel also goes mad, but Alex is quick to take care of it. Saber and Brent also need to spend a bit of time mining free our gravship's thrusters. We could not afford to pay attention to this when we landed, but of course we want to use the Heeser's full range the next time we lift off. At this point then, our researchers can keep going with the drug projects. Gojuice is next. And Brent has also manufactured our very first charge rifle, and it is of excellent quality, and therefore now goes into the hands of our best shooter, Kyla. Following the acquisition, Kyla spends the night chopping wood for chem fuel, and on the next morning the grey pall has finally lifted as we are busy loading up our shuttle. This is mostly done to clear some storage space. Our destination is this nearby friendly settlement here. In exchange for our goods, we then purchase another triple rocket launcher, as we have in fact been selling off over 1,000 silver worth of goods, and our shelves now look a tiny bit more spacious. With Gojuice production now also unlocked, our next research project focuses on curing Unwise Elder's ailments. Toxin filtration here will allow us to make our own kidneys and lungs, and not just that, the detoxifier versions here are actually better than their organic counterparts. They do require advanced components though, but as you can see we have begun making those ourselves. For the moment though, Brent and Zero are sharing the fabrication bench. Our genie craftsman is currently working on yet another charge rifle. In the evening then we can use Unwise Elder's unnatural healing ability once more. This time 62-year-old Zero is the target. She's got plenty of ailments to cure, and for starters we get rid of her bad back. At this point then it is also almost time to lift off, but before we do, let's accept the Toxic Waste Pack quest. Our crew does not necessarily strike me as overly environmentalist, and we are in fact also going to take the Psylink Neuroformer as a reward, although I would like to ask you guys to tell me whether or not you actually want us to use it. Personally, I'm not strictly against it, but it would certainly change the vibe of the series a bit. So for now we're just going to store the Neuroformer away. If I had to pick a pawn to learn Psycasts in this series, I also wouldn't be sure who. Wielding a Persona Zeus hammer with the psychically hypersensitive trait, Alex would make the most sense, but once more let me know how you think we should proceed here. For now, it is time to launch the Heeser into orbit once again. Our next destination should be the abandoned orbital platform housing a gravcore over here. The mech platform here might be closer, but will also be much more heavily defended. Along the way, we will likely need to make 1 or 2 stops, and I have found one tile here that interests me. Wild Tinctoria grows on this island that we have actually visited before, so let's go there again for a quick layover. So, as you can see, winter is fast approaching. Good thing we won't be staying long. Our only goals are to refuel, harvest the Tinctoria, and maybe also grab some components along the way. We should be lifting off again in about a day and a half. We are stockpiling all of the dye then for the next iteration of the Heeser's design. I still have every intention to model it a bit more after its Colossus Toad namesake, which of course also includes a fitting purple color. Very early on the next morning then, another boomalope sees the light of day. For the name, we are going with Father Death this time. Once again, wonderfully apocalyptic and hopefully not foreshadowing anything. Apart from that, things remain fairly uneventful. After harvesting all nearby Tinctoria, we now proceed with chopping wood. Of course, our production of chem fuel can never truly rest. In the evening then, we send out a small team to go hunting. I spotted a warg fairly close to our gravship's landing site, and just as we kill it, we are also informed that Brent's next charge rifle is of masterwork quality, and that it portrays an outlaw and 5 bell peppers. Well, we'll get it into the hands of someone suitable soon enough. For now, we take down more of the local wildlife. 2 mega sloths inhabit this map, and we want the fur of both of them. And yes, we will eventually also tame some for our small zoo, but for the time being, we are still in the gathering resources phase. On the next morning then, we bear witness to everyone's favorite Rimworld event. 2000 watts of energy have just been discharged in our bedroom, and I think we're actually pretty lucky that only Zero gets away with a small injury. A few hours later then, the toxin filtration research project is done, and I think we'll leave it at that for the time being. We're going to lift off again soon, but first Fabian throws a party, so our pawns get a nice mood boost to take with them on the next leg of their journey. In the evening then, we are good to go. We will have to make one more quick pit stop along the way. As you can see, we can't quite make it over to the abandoned orbital platform just yet, and for our pit stop we also don't want to travel too far south. It is currently winter on the southern hemisphere, so to avoid overly uncomfortable temperatures, we'll go to this island right here. A little further north, and this tile here interests me. Wild cotton grows here, which should give us something to do for the next 1 to 2 days. Right, now our next destination here is of course not entirely untroubled by the temperatures, but it's not too cold and we have plenty to do. 3 separate veins of compacted machinery want to be mined out, and looking around our landing site we should also be able to gather a few hundred units of cloth. Now, we're going to keep this as brief as possible. Once again, this is only planned to be a short layover and we're itching to go into orbit. Nonetheless, a few things need to be talked about. For example, Unwise Elder's organ decay progressing rapidly. The pain that the condition causes is currently her main issue, but we've got Zero already on the task, making a detoxifier kidney. A high-intensity psychic drone then complicates our situation. Let's hope that our crew's females can remain steadfast. Otherwise, we might see some mental breaks that needlessly prolong our stay here. Alex at least seems to be in good spirits, even though a shooting inspiration is not of much use for her. And we're also putting up 2 wind turbines here, even though our solar panels should actually suffice. This is mostly done to quickly replenish our batteries. Once we go into space again, we better have them at full capacity. In the evening then, the detoxifier kidney is ready to be installed. Zero is already working on the lung as well. Furion successfully completes the medical procedure, and just a few hours later he is already at it again. And as the sun slowly rises again, Unwise Elder's organ decay is officially cured. As we then start introducing insect meat to our biofuel refinery, we are informed that the Heezer is ready for launch again. However, before we lift off, a tribal trade caravan passes by, and we definitely want to see what they have to offer before we leave. As Reno approaches the caravan, the psychic drone also comes to an end, but we're about to leave in a few moments anyway. Before we do though, we can clear some inventory and, crucially, purchase 2 new ducks, since we have now lost both Gondragon and Black Shadow. So that means 2 new names need to be given out. For the female duck, we're going with Nietzsche, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Her male partner, meanwhile, will be named Churonik, both of course names of channel supporters in the naming rights tier. Final preparations then before we lift off, we turn on the vac barrier and the oxygen pumps. Our pen animals are also already roped inside the gravship to prevent them roaming out into the vacuum of space. And with that, I think we're good to go. Let's fly up into orbit and grab ourselves another gravcore. So here we are, an abandoned space station lies in front of us. Its exterior walls have taken damage at 2 separate points. The outside turrets have long ceased to function, and we can at this point essentially waltz right in there. Before we do, let's quickly queue up the research of autodoors. Our researchers will need something to do, and then we send out a small group of fighters, all of course vacuum protected. Just in that moment, Nelgraf picks a fight with Unwise Elder, a fight with unforeseen consequences. As Unwise Elder goes down, she not only goes hostile, but also lets out a twisted scream, and despite the vacuum of space, we can hear other screams answering the call in the distance, and those of you who followed along during the Anomaly series already know what's coming. No, not even space is safe from Sightstealers. It's actually a funny yet fitting coincidence that Nelgraf was the one who provoked this reaction. Just like Unwise Elder, he was one of these so-called creep joiners, his occultist trait granting him deep knowledge of the void, and maybe he was capable of seeing in Unwise Elder what nobody else saw, a twisted connection to some very dangerous entities. Now, speaking of which, despite this being more than just a small surprise, the Sightstealers here might actually be a blessing in disguise, as they have already begun taking on whatever defenses remain on this space station, which, depending on their numbers, might just make things a little bit easier for us. Just as a quick reminder, as you can see, individually Sightstealers are really not that strong, but in the darkness of the rooms beyond, they are definitely causing some havoc, and if they can just slightly thin out the number of these sentry drones for us, then that should make our approach a lot easier. At this point then, we can slowly but steadily start making our way through the facility, always on the lookout for hostiles of course, but by the sound of it, Sightstealers and drones are still busy fighting each other in other parts of the building. It looks like we are about to have some company though. Nonetheless, the number of Sightstealers that we will eventually end up facing during this assault is vastly reduced. Apart from the handful that we killed, the sentry drones took care of all of them. In turn, a good number of bots also went down, and we are now left to clear out the last few stragglers, which of course is not entirely risk-free, especially at this close range. The sentry drone's scattergun has decent stopping power in close quarters, so we are going to take a few more injuries here. Nonetheless, our total firepower should overwhelm them relatively quickly. Alright, and there we are. With Alex gravely injured, the last bot goes down. There is one more at the other end of the facility, down here, but even without Alex, we should be able to take it easily. Afterwards then, we go and continue exploring. After all, we are still searching for the gravcore. Clearly, these 2 rooms here don't have one, and we also don't find success in the upper left side of the facility. What we do find, however, are 2 locked ancient blast doors. Brent and Deborah can now split off and work on getting those open, while Nick, Kyla and Saber continue to open doors. Still no gravcore in sight, but 2 ancient cryptosleep caskets, and it doesn't take much longer to finally find what we were looking for. We also find signs of a heavy struggle nearby. Some of the room's turrets are also still functioning, so perhaps it's best if we just keep exploring for now. Behind the sealed door, Brent finds an ancient transport pod. Deborah is about to make a very similar find in just a few seconds, while our main adventuring party has just stumbled upon 4 sealed crates. Brent has also hacked a security terminal to open a blast door. Sadly though, it is no longer needed at this point. The second terminal, however, does make life a little easier for us, as it disables one of the 3 remaining turrets in the gravcore room. Saber and Kyla then stumble upon another trio of cryptosleep caskets, while the final room they now gain access to houses a few hydroponics basins as well as a sun lamp, items that might just be worth taking for ourselves. Now, at this point, the only threats remaining are the turrets near the gravcore, and we plan on taking care of those with Saber and Blubber. Yes, our Hive Queen is entirely vacuum resistant, and also not particularly fazed by 2 turrets. Saber and Blubber then also tank the turret explosion here like absolute champs, and just a short while later then the ancient grav engine is destroyed and another grav core is more or less safely in our possession. There is of course still much more left to do on this abandoned orbital platform. A grand total of 5 ancient cryptosleep caskets want to be opened. Some of the furniture on this station could also prove useful, not to mention the almost 50 Sightstealer corpses. Each one can be butchered for twisted meat and dread leather. All in all, I think we have reasons enough to stick around here for just a little while longer. For today though, our injured require rest, and I think we have reached a good point to make the cut. We also have some fan art again this week. Greg sent in some heraldry depicting that fight between Rhinoceros Ulfgar and the Hive Queen. And of course, we are not overlooking the toad at the top, a toad that will hopefully make a prominent return with the Heeze's new design in the next episode. Until then, I hope you enjoyed today's one, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. And of course, if you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.